it actually was harmful for my business. Because another thing that they tell you to do is once you set all this up, is you start cold DMing people are like who are like famous authors. And they're like, oh yeah, it feels icky and gross at first, but like just do it. And then they tell you to brag about it in the group, like brag about the nose.
Okay, buckle up, my friends, because this has to be one of the wildest rides that we've been on in a while. It all started on a cold March day. I don't actually know what the weather was like that day, but I received a DM on Instagram and it included this video here, which we're all going to watch together collectively before we get into the interview. So let's go ahead and give it a watch. Okay, so at risk of spoiling the whole interview, I'm just going to cut clips of the video and pop them up on the screen here, but I will have the original video linked in the description if you're interested in going and watching and liking and sharing it to help support Autumn in getting this message spread out.
I want to tell you a very honest perspective of somebody who truly believed that what this person was saying would happen for their business would happen for me. This person is selling a coaching bullshit lie that has been circling on the internet for quite a while, but just fabricated it in a whole different way, packaged in a whole different way, preying on artists and creators and people who would be considered the starving artist. I got into this program thinking that I would be coached by herself on the marketing practices that she used to get her business, her photography business, to 7-figure months every month. This coaching course is a straight up lie, and it's dangerous and predatory to people who are very susceptible to believing that there is hope. You're actually in this course so that you can get to a point in your business where you feel like, okay, my business isn't making as much as what was promised. So now maybe I have to make a coaching course to justify the high prices that I need to charge.
Now, before we get into the interview, I want to give a big thank you to Autumn for being so vulnerable and transparent in sharing her experience. You'll see in the interview, but her experience as an artist being sold on a program for artists to build their art businesses is absolutely not what was delivered inside the program. And unfortunately, this is a story that we have seen all too often here on this channel. Now, as I like to do, I'm going to let Autumn do the speaking for herself. Thank you so much for being here. Consider giving this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. Check out Autumn's information. It'll be linked in the description down below. And let's go ahead and get into the interview. Okay, I lied. I want to give a big shout out to my channel VIP members. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to all channel members, as well as those of you in the billionaire tier, getting rich, stacking those dollar bills every day. If you're interested in getting rich, you want early access to my content, click the join button down below to learn more. That's enough from me. Let's go ahead and jump right in.
My name is Autumn, and I'm actually an artist, and my channel is Alwitum's Art on Instagram. And I was at a place after I experienced a few tech layoffs in California, because that's where I'm located, where I was like, okay, I went to college for art, and I have done art pretty much my entire life. And so I was like, okay, let's make this into a business. I've worked with quite a few clients before I actually decided to make it full time. And then I decided to make it full time in December. And then I was at a point where I was like, okay, as this starts to lift off, I have quite a bit of knowledge from all of the jobs that I've worked my entire life, but this is different, it's a different world for me. So I was like, okay, it might be best to seek some help from someone. I was looking on Instagram, and underneath the creator portal, they have resources, or they had resources. And this is where I found that person's name, and kind of watched a few of their videos, and was like, oh, this sounds like a perfect opportunity. It was geared towards artists and creators who wanted to grow their business. And so that's where I was, and I was like, okay. And so I inquired. There was a couple DMs back and forth, and that's how this all started.
Wow. Okay. I've always find it so interesting to hear people's sort of origin stories when it comes to how they first stumble upon these different programs, because first of all, there's so many options, I feel like, in this time, but also there seems to be coaches for absolutely everything. And so the fact that you're like, I'm an artist and I found this coach who like works with artists. And it's a perfect fit. Like it's made for me, right? So I guess if you could speak more about what that process of like deciding to actually sign up and join the program and maybe what the program you were sold on actually was like supposed to look like versus what it actually ended up being.
So this person has an actual photography business. And from what I can see, it's been successful. And they basically said that they can help you grow to like a 6-figure, 7-figure business. And there's not really a time frame on that, right? So that's just the claim. And because they had experience, or at least what I thought, because they had experience, that's what kind of led me to this. And so I also got my partner involved because he's very supportive of my journey and wanted to see me grow. And so he was the one that got on the last call with me and this person, and actually just like paid. Thankfully, it was on credit, but yes.
So that was the sales call. Did you have to go on multiple sales calls before they like you finally signed up?
So a lot of it was in the DMs. They were trying to like figure out what I do and stuff. And then when we actually got on the call, it was like that's when they talk about the investment. And the investment was $6,800. It was quite a lot. But you know, you're thinking, at least because I went and actually got an education, I'm like, okay, like courses and stuff take a long time. And so, okay, maybe it's justified, whatever. We just kind of went off of like what we saw. You know, we thought Instagram was like promoting this person. So, and then like they had the photography background. So I'm like, okay, like see if this works. And then during the sales call, that's when they tell you the price. They don't post it. And they tell you the price. And so there is this like weird pressure where like you're like, okay, like if I don't make this decision right now, like it's gonna go up in price, and you know, all the stuff that they do to like kind of semi pressure you into this. But yeah, we made the decision. There was a lot going on in December because those are on like the holiday, and I went to every single coaching call up until the point where I felt something wasn't right. And
So
so,
how
yeah.
long was the program? What did you actually sign up for? Was it one-on-one? Was it group coaching? What was the format supposed to be?
So it was supposed to be one-on-one and group coaching and like workshops in between. And it was kind of a mix of all of that. And then there was like pre-recorded content on like a software that holds content.
Okay, I understand. So you are essentially signing up for this program based on the impression that this person is going to help you build this creative business to 6 figures. You get inside, you're attending all the coaching calls. What are you actually being taught inside the program?
So this is where it gets really yeah. So one of the first videos they show you is a video of like a technique called EFT, which is tapping. And I used to work for a mental health institute where I worked with actual coaches and like life coaches, and I worked with licensed therapists. So my first initial reaction to that was like, okay, I'll give it a shot because like I don't want to like not do the program and not, put my all into it, right?
You didn't get
And
results because you didn't do the work.
yes, oh my gosh. So I did do some of that stuff, I did that stuff, and then they teach you in the funnel, we're talking about it. They teach you how to make a sales funnel. They teach you how to bring like or like what the numbers look like. But the first thing I want to say is to don't go lower than number is something that they teach you before you go into all of this, which is, and I still have the worksheet, but it's basically you calculate all of your income, and everyone does the same method. You calculate all your income and you come up with this number that you will not sell your products lower than. And everybody's number is kind of ridiculous. It's like mine was like 7,000. And
And this is based on how much money you wanna make? Is that how they're telling you to calculate
yes.
it? Okay.
Yeah. So they're like, how much did you spend in your business annually? like with this, like how much do you want to make? And of course you're going to say like I want to make like 100K a year or something like that. And then you do you do the math and that's the number.
Yeah, so you're calculating prices based on your own costs and your own desires versus like the actual value of the thing that you're selling.
Yes. And
Okay.
like there are actual like ethical pricing guidelines that people have put out into publication, stating like how other artists price their work and ethically. And so I'm like, okay, so now that I know that, I'm like screaming in my head because I'm like, that's just not right. But that was the first thing you do. We did it. We learned how to create a sales funnel, and they use ClickFunnels, which is something that looks super, super scammy and stuff to me. And I just got endless emails from them after like you put your sales funnel in. Every time
It's
anybody,
expensive too, isn't it?
oh
Sorry.
my gosh, it is
ClickFunnels?
$97,
Okay,
97
a
US
month.
dollars a month.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. I know
Yeah,
like a lot of
so
coaches use it, but it's like if you're just in the beginning and you're not actually making money yet, there's a lot of cheaper alternatives to ClickFunnels that would not cost you $100 a month.
yeah, it was. And then someone, of course, like everyone in the group who's like chatting with one another is like telling you like different ways to do it. Like, so someone actually was like, oh, just put it on your website, like your VSL, because that's the next thing they tell you to make is a video sales letter. Um, and the VSL that she has in her course actually is a VSL for coaches, like how to make your coaching program. And the strategic business guide that she has a one-on-one call with you was super, super short. I was in Seattle at the time that I took it. And so I was outside and I was like expecting to like take notes and stuff. And it was just like, okay, you're gonna market yourself to do book cover commissions. You're going to create your VSL for that. And then you're going to start posting like authority content or something, like start posting more on social media, which I know a lot of people in the program are really uncomfortable with. But I was like, okay, this is just a part of building some business online. So, but anyways, the second red flag to me was all of the content wasn't like how she used this method to grow her photography business. It was how she used this method to create a coaching program. And so a lot of other people noticed that. And we were like, okay, like, I guess we just have to make it our own. So that whole process is a lot of work. It took me upwards of like a month to 2 months to like kind of get that process in place. And it actually was harmful for my business. Because another thing that they tell you to do is once you set all this up, is you start cold DMing people are like who are like famous authors. And they're like, oh yeah, it feels icky and gross at first, but like just do it. And then they tell you to brag about it in the group, like brag about the nose, to help improve your mindset. Yes.
It feels icky because it is icky.
Yeah. I got ignored a lot. And the people who were super nice enough to respond to me, um, sometimes would stop talking to me halfway through, or would just say no, no, thank you. And so, like, that's nice. But then I actually started to play around and run ads on my own. And that actually started bringing in clients, and people to chat with me. But it wasn't the method that was taught in the program.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. Like that's something you figured out on your own. You weren't actually taught how to do that.
Yeah, so
Okay.
none of these people were famous by any means, but a lot of these folk were just genuine people that wanted to grow. They're self-publishers. They want to grow their book, and I want to help them. So, um, but I started to kind of piece together things like when I'm going through this process on my own versus like what I'm learning in the program that's like totally not working for me. I stopped DMing people because I was like, this feels really icky. And what I'm hearing in the group calls is actually another key too. A lot of the people in the calls were actually like, their biggest concern was like, I don't know how to make this service, this product, this, you know, some people sold jewelry, some people sold ceramics, some people sold photography, some people like me, I do digital illustration or traditional. So they're all different businesses. Nobody actually got like concrete information on how to grow their business individually. And so we're all in this group, and I'm hearing complaints, like very real complaints of like, I just hired a VA and I just like did this, and I'm not making any money from what I'm doing, but I feel good about it. And I was like, every time we get on a call, people are coached in how they're feeling about stuff and not actually like, maybe not concrete financial stuff, but I would imagine if you're a business coach, you might need to talk about like what actual financial growth looks like.
This is actually really interesting that you bring this up because this is something that I've kind of like stewed on a lot and thought about over the years. And I remember even in my own experience at first, I didn't really think that I had gotten scammed because I felt good about my business. And it wasn't until like years later when I started to really observe what was happening in the industry that I realized a lot of these coaches will promote programs, offers, whatever, under the guise of like, I don't give a monetary ROI. The ROI is your mindset, or you'll feel good about yourself and you'll believe that you can be successful in business. And that's more valuable than any amount of money. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, I don't know about you, but I don't think the bank is going to take my mortgage payment in good mindset feelings. Like, where's the money? That's what I need to build the business for, right? Like, but when you're in it, and especially when you're on these group calls and everyone's like, rah, rah, this is amazing, you don't see that like you're
Mm.
being duped. You're just like, okay, I guess this is good, even though I'm in the negative because my expenses are so high and I'm not making any money yet. But hopefully I'll start, feeling my way to success soon. Like, oh, it's awful.
It feels borderline brainwashing in a sense to make you feel so into this program, especially when you actually start taking the steps like I did. And I laugh because it's like, I also took the right steps too by not like subjecting anyone to pay more than what they can, like by getting them on a sales call and making them feel pressured. Like, I feel pressured. I'm an anxious person. Like, we can't have calls like this. Every time someone would have a real complaint, it would be coached into like, well, can I just walk you through this exercise of like meeting your inner child? And like, I think the icing on the cake for all of us, and actually, thankfully, I had planned to meet someone who lives only 15 minutes away from me, who was actually supposed to join the call, but she lives 15 minutes away from me and she's in this program, or was in this program with me. And we were going to meet up for coffee after this workshop that was planned, and it was called a somatic healing workshop. And it basically was a workshop where these people are teaching you somatic healing. And I don't even know if they have the right licenses for it or anything, but people got very, very vulnerable. People are being recorded during this call because they record everything. And yeah, that was another thing. They record everything. And after that, and then like in the middle or at the end of the call, she holds up her yoni egg. I don't know if you're familiar with what a yoni egg is, but we were all just like, okay, we paid for business coaching, and what is this? What is this? So afterwards, I had my coffee with my friend, and it was about, I was going to talk to her about the coaching that I had the day before, because I actually broke down the prices for this coach that I was talking to, which is not the person I paid for, because it's always another coach that they hire. Um, So I'm working with this coach and I'm telling her, I'm like, okay, so I'm looking at the ethical price range to charge for book cover commissions, and it's nowhere near the don't go lower that number. Can you please explain to me, like, how am I supposed to just like ask people for money like this? You know, basically that's just what I said. I was like, what do you, and the coaching was, I'm feeling a little bit of this sassiness come from you, and I feel like you should take this like thought leadership and use your thought leadership on social media to call out other artists who are not charging like they should. And I was just like, first of all, there's so many stereotypes that happen to like a person of color when they're being outspoken, and it has unfortunately happened to me multiple times. But this happened to me right in coaching. And I was like shooketh by it because I was like, I'm here for actual like coaching advice for like how to make this program work. Because right now the numbers ain't numbering. And it turned into like an attack on my character, and then also making me feel, I guess, a little bit weak, and then to like project that on social media, to tell other artists that they're not charging enough. And so I told this to my friend, and immediately we had so many similarities. Like my friend actually completely got ghosted. She like did the VSL, asked for feedback. Nobody gave her feedback except for me because I had already made the video. And she knew 2 weeks prior to me that she was like, this ain't it. And so she had already gone through like all the stages of grief and like all this stuff. And she's just like, I'm so glad that you're here with me today because like I would not really, I knew something was up, but it couldn't piece it together. But basically, she told me that these coaches go and they purchase the master rights for the mastermind class, and then they take that and they use that as curriculum to become a coach. And so as soon as she said that, I was like, I've been in an MLM before, and it just was like the same type of stuff. 80% mindset, 20% strategy, you know, the full works was just like all the red flags were coming to me at that moment. And like after that, I couldn't sleep for like 2 days because I was just thinking about this over and over again. Like, how could this be happening to us in real time? Because we were only 3 months in.
This is so wild to me. So I'm a photographer. I started a coaching business, teaching people how to build creative businesses successfully. Then I'm not even making the curriculum based on my own experience being a photographer, having built this six-figure business. I'm buying the curriculum from someone else, and it's only related about how to start a coaching business. And then I'm selling that to people. Like, this doesn't even make sense from like a business standpoint of like, how could you stand in integrity and sell that to people under one impression when that's not even what they're being delivering on? I'm so sorry that this happened to you. This is like blowing my mind. So that was halfway through the program that you're finally like
Yeah.
starting to see what's going on. So then like what happens next?
I actually posted my video because I was so like in awe that like this happened to me. And not only to me, another person. And then that person found another person that it happened to. And as soon as I posted my video, several other people in the program who had been feeling a certain type of way, who had been like cast to the side and ignored, were just like reaching out and telling me like, yeah, I was ignored too, or like I'm going through a hard time, and like I asked for my money back and they told me that I could only put my program on pause. And I'm just like mind blown that the voices in the program who are being pushed up, because they love to have you brag and talk about all the things that are working. Over here, I'm like, I'm celebrating the most crappy things while I'm just like kind of still poor. Like, I still don't have what my money's worth is. But the people that are actually successful in the program are because they are actually successful artists without this. But even they had like, now I'm at this next level of things and I have all these taxes that I have to pay. And the coaches were coaching on that, like, oh well, what about the coaching program that you wanted to start? Like, I understand your service product business is going well, but what about the coaching? And they weren't getting coaching clients. And so I'm like, there's just so many red flags. Basically, I found this network of people that are all currently still being affected, and we're just kind of figuring out like next steps. I started doing a lot of research, which is how I found your YouTube, and I saw that you were talking about and had like tons of content about this, and I was just like, so many similarities I'm picking out from all these things. Almost every video had like at least 10 exact red flags that I like went through myself, and I'm just like, okay, so I'm not the only one. And then just as I started talking about it more, I just started finding more people. And then I actually started doing like research about coaching business scams. And the FTC has a whole website in the US about these business scams because they're currently probably fighting a lot of them. On the website, it has pretty much all the red flags, like the bogus claims of making six figures and et cetera, et cetera. And so I just started filing a report with the FTC, filing a report with the Better Business Bureau, because especially in California, we have consumer laws. And so some of these things that were happening in this program were obviously not what people paid for. It's not the product we paid for. And so there are routes for us to take to start reporting these to the right authorities. We also had to, file a chargeback with our credit cards, and it's currently being disputed right now because she will not refund any of us. She states that the ROI, because the percentage of the classes that we finished weren't 100%.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is a common thing that comes up with like a lot of these coaches' refund policies is like in order to qualify for the refund, there's so many hoops you have to jump through and so much proof you have to provide in order to be able to get it that like the majority of people don't end up getting refunds from what I've heard anyway, allegedly in my opinion. You don't get your money back because you didn't, like you said, you didn't complete the modules or you didn't fill out every page in the workbook or you didn't show up to every call even though it was in a completely different time zone and it didn't work for you. Like they try as hard as they can to find any way to disqualify you from getting your money back when, like you said, from a regular business perspective, if I delivered a service and a client wasn't happy with the service I delivered, it would make sense for me to give them their money back because why would I want to destroy my reputation, my relationships, and so on? It's like, I don't get the approach from like the longevity of your business kind of standpoint. It seems really irresponsible to act that way.
Oh, it is. I have helped quite a few businesses grow, like small businesses in local communities, and they were very successful. And it's because of the customer service that you're able to provide and the relationship that you have with your team. So like I know this from like an above standpoint, but it's just like it's wild to me that again that I was in this position and I'm like realizing it like halfway through. Like, dang, there's a lot about this that is not ethical. It's not good. I mean, thinking back onto it too, I think just the fact that everything is recorded and then that content I hear gets, repurposed and reused in the future to like sold to me. That's probably what all that content is in there is when they were doing this one-on-one and like now they can like step back. But I think another huge red flag was I had gotten so far into this program and I was actually starting to think about having my own coaching program. And so the further that I went in and they started coaching me more on that, like the other coaches, they got really excited. They were like, oh, now you want to start a coaching program. They actually started to respond more. The reason why I thought about being a coach was so I can justify charging people the amount of money that my don't go overnight number is. I'm like, this must be the only way. Cause like I felt really uncomfortable trying to charge people that number without really understanding why. There has to be a reason why that I'm charging someone this much. It's like, how many hours did I put into it? What is the fair market value of this product? And there's things like that here. And so when I started to think about why did I want to become a coach, it wasn't really that I want to teach people for money. It's really that I wanted to justify the prices that I had to charge. And I was like, there's something very wrong with that reason. And no wonder they started to be more responsive and give better advice or better advice for coaching when you decide to do that. And I felt that's what a lot of people were being pivoted into because a lot of people in the program were like, I want to be a coach too. And I'm like, All right. I don't really know where the messaging of this is going because I joined specifically to grow my art business.
And unfortunately, I think this is a story that's all too common. This idea of, I'm going to coach you to build a business. But really, the only success I've ever had was building my coaching business. So the only thing I can teach you how to replicate is if you also build a coaching business, not a business doing the actual thing that you want to be doing. And so I think that's where things can get really muddled, especially when they're marketing it to you as like, I'm going to teach you how to build your business. And they're not transparent about the fact that, like, by business, they mean coaching business.
Yes. And then on their actual like ClickFunnels page, they have that they were featured in Vogue and featured in Huffington Post. And this is on the page where they're trying to get you into their coaching program. And so I'm thinking the reason why I probably felt compelled to go into this for the social proof, right? The social proof was only for the photography business. It wasn't for the coaching business. And so when I actually started to dig deeper to see if they had any certifications to be teaching anybody any coaching, any business coaching, nothing, crickets. The only LLC that you could find is their photography business. And it's just wild to me, like how that this is able to function. I should have known something up was really up to because when I asked for anyone who had a tax person, right, and a tax accountant. They sent me their bookkeeper, and their bookkeeper is amazing. She's glorious. I loved everything about her. But when I mentioned how I knew this person and how we formed this relationship, they were like, "Oh, what do they do for their business?" And I was like, "If you're their bookkeeper, you should know that they have a business coach, a business coaching business." But she didn't. And so that was another like, there's another red flag that I should have picked on. I don't know if this is a common thing for coaches, but they also like say, oh, I can teach you how to do this in 4 to 6 hours a week with ease and pleasure. And it just got to a point where the only person we saw having ease and pleasure was her. Like everybody else was going through like extremely hard times, like not making any money, more money than what they made coming here. But the only people making progress were people who wanted to become coaches.
Yeah, it's all too common. But sign up for my program. I'll teach you how to build this like luxury vacation lifestyle where I'd never have to work more than 30 seconds and I'm so rich. But then it's like the irony is the reason why they have that lifestyle is because you're paying them whatever you said, $6,800 times however many people are in this program. And that's how they're affording to work 4 hours a week because you guys fell for it. Now you
Yeah.
got to go find your own people to pay you $7,000 so that you can work 2 hours a week. Like,
And the advice always is, oh, you just have to do this icky part now and then you can hire out. You can just hire someone else to do it. And when you're looking at the numbers from your own business, from a ethical standpoint, or just like, or practical standpoint, even like, I can't afford to hire anybody, especially in the United States. There's like rules and laws set, but like even contracting someone, I want to pay someone what they're worth. And I actually stumbled across, while I'm in this coaching, I stumbled across this program. Basically, I got on a call with them, a sales call with them, to hire VA in the Philippines for something super duper cheap to like do all your like social media and help you build your sales funnel and
or like cold DMing. You can
cold
hire someone to,
DMing.
message people for you.
And I was like, there has to be something wrong with this. Like, I don't feel comfortable. Not that I don't want to support the Philippines, of course, but like, again, something in my head went off as like, how is this ethical?
You're just exploiting cheap labor elsewhere, and people will be like, well, the cost of living is so much lower. That's why they get paid less. Okay, I understand that. But if I'm just doing it to like further line my own pockets, for me, it feels kind of gross. I would rather either hire someone locally that I pay a livable wage to or pay these people more than just like the bare minimum.
It's so wild. And I don't really know what we're going to do next in terms per se. Like, All I can do is hope that like the right authorities look into it. And it seems like the first email that we got back was from the BBB, which is the Better Business Bureau. And they're actually asking for a response on the other party's behalf. So that's good that someone's looking into it, but it's also like, I know that hundreds, like she has at least coached hundreds of people.
Is the program technically still ongoing right now? Like, should you still be in the program in terms of timeline?
Yeah,
Okay.
I
And so
should have
then,
been in there until I want to say June.
and then there's a few of you that have left?
She removed all of us
I
who
see.
asked for a refund. She just removed us. She removed us all for asking
Interesting.
for a refund.
So you can't have your money back, but you also can't access any of the content, even though I've made you paid for it.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness.
So I just think even the aftermath of what's going on is still very eye-opening to me. It's like none of us have gotten a refund. Not even the people who have asked politely. People who have asked 2 months, or 2 weeks prior to me. Um, Nobody's gotten a refund, and we've all gotten this generic response. And I think that's kind of the consensus of it. They tried to build a program that makes it impossible for you to leave once you kind of like think outside of the box or think on your own. It's hard. If it was like after we completed the program, I would say it would be very different, to kind of see that versus like the fact that we're in it and we see it and we're like trying to speak out against it. It's our experiences are so different in comparison because it's like now we're like fighting back. Like, no, this isn't the product we paid for. We want our money back at least. I hope too that the other outcome that I could hope from this is that this stops happening. Like I hope this person continues to be successful in their photography business, but I really, really hope that they kind of wake up themselves, because I'm sure that they have a coach themselves that's coaching them through all of this, because that seems to be the consensus. And I think all of them don't really have an experience on what happens if you get caught, basically. So I think that's kind of what we're navigating right now, is like what to do next.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to note, as we've kind of alluded to throughout this discussion, the idea of like it's very almost cultish in that like you don't see what's going on. Everyone's kind of like, yeah, this is great. We're having a good time. And so to think of it from the perspective of like the coach that you hired is probably just blindly following whatever the coach they've hired is telling them. So I always have this sort of like internal debate as to whether or not these people know that what they're doing is scamming, or like are they just, thinking that they're doing good and then over promising and under delivering. And I think part of the piece is like, okay, so I have this successful business. Now I'm going to become a coach. I need to hire my own coach. So this coach is just telling me, charge this much, do this, make your program structured like this, etc. Probably buy these MRR slideshows and put them in your program to save your time. And if you don't really think to ask questions like you did in your experience, I could see how it would be very easy to just kind of be like, everything's fine. I'm helping people. I'm doing good. And so I think that's an important point, and I'm glad that you pointed that out, because I don't think it excuses anyone from bad behavior, but I can see how someone might get trapped in this. And hopefully now, with this experience of so many of you uh, stating that you didn't have a positive experience, maybe that will be the thing that wakes them up to be like, okay, perhaps I should reevaluate how I'm approaching my coaching business, and maybe, actually look at how I can provide people with more value or deliver on the things that I'm telling them they're going to get.
Yes, yes to all of that, really. I think because of the experience we had with the particular coach on our Wednesday groups, that I was participating in, and I went to every single one, just the things that we were coached on and the way that we were coached were not good. Like just working in like a therapeutic space where like I'm working with people who are actually licensed, and then being in this space where someone's using therapeutic techniques that should only be used by licensed people, to kind of brainwash people into feeling elated, feeling like I felt good. Not gonna lie, like you are love bombed into thinking that like you are on top of the world and that you know everything and that you have a path and this is gonna work for you. If it's achievable for them, it's achievable for you. And like, yes, to all of that. Like I experienced that because I was like, why do I feel so good? You know? And then at the same time, like I do have a really good therapist that I was working with. And then I graduated therapy. And so when I'm thinking about the techniques that I'm learning in therapy and then this type of thing, I'm like, there's way too many similarities. One is licensed and I'm paying way less for because it's part of my healthcare, right? And the other is like not getting me anywhere except for I just feel good, you know? And I already feel good and I already felt good. I felt like I was on a good level mind. And then you experience this and it kind of puts you in a whirlwind because you're like, holy crap. Like, if I would have let my mindset continue further, I feel like it would have been back to that point where I was in an actual MLM, where they go to these conferences, these conventions, huge conventions that you pay lots of money for, and people are up there like having their books signed because they sold you some shake. But little to say, they're just like building their business off of other people building their business, right? That's what that MLM was. And when I started to feel the same way as that moment, I was like, hold up, this has happened to me before. I have definitely felt elated, but for no particular reason before. And like, here we are again. And so it was just all the signs together and like confirmation from an actual person who's experienced the same things that like brought to light it. But I think without that, if I hadn't have met for coffee, I probably still would have been really confused into
Yeah, of
what's
like
going
what is
on.
happening, definitely. So I'd be curious if you have any like parting advice for people if someone's considering a coaching program or maybe they're in a program and they're thinking like something seems off here, like what would you tell someone to do if they're in that situation?
If they don't have pricing transparency, that is a huge one. I think everyone ethically should have pricing transparency available. That way, you never get on a phone call where you feel pressured into making an investment that you're probably not really actually ready for. I would say that's the first thing. And take time if you actually are on the phone call with someone, take time and do research. Like, try to piece things together before even putting yourself in a position where your mindset is just all that you think about. And then the second thing I would say is those claims. So if they're saying that they can guarantee you 7-figure, 6-figure businesses in only 4 to 5 hours a week, those are like blatant FTC red flags that say you are in a scam program because no one can like, if you are an actual licensed business coach, you are liable for the claims that you make and how much revenue you can build someone. So if this person is not licensed and they're saying that they can get you this much in your business, I would say that's red flag number 2. These are the warning signs. Number 3, if anybody tells you everything in this program is 80% mindset and 20% strategy, or any percentage around that amount, because sometimes they'll use 90-10, whatever. I would say in real life, it's about 50-50. It's 50% believing in yourself and 50% do I actually have the rightful ethical knowledge to grow this, or whatever you're trying to do, because this seems to happen a lot with business coaching, but it can happen in any kind of coaching. If anyone is teaching you therapy techniques, or which is like go journal about it, go EFT about it, do the stress test or the pencil test, or there's tons of this terminology that's used in actual licensed therapeutic places. And if any coaching program is using this, um, and they don't have the license, that's lastly the last red flag.
Yeah, I have an entire video. I'll link it in the cards here of the like shadow work coaches that want to teach you how to like heal your inner child, which I know is something you mentioned earlier, and
Oh,
just
yes.
how like absolutely unethical and inappropriate that is to be like calling yourself like a trauma coach when all you did was like a 2-day trauma informed workshop. Like, working with people's trauma and using therapeutic tools is completely different than understanding like how to provide coaching services in light of the fact that people might have experienced trauma in their lifetime. Like, those are two completely different things.
It's even crazy to me that they will say, I'm not licensed to do this, but I'm going to walk you through this EFT exercise. And it's like, what? But that's like that's a part of that red flag is like, if anyone tells you that, I'm not licensed to do this, but
Yeah, it's like trust your gut. I think if you're in an experience, a coaching experience, and you're feeling like, I don't think that I should be doing this here, probably worth it to evaluate why you're feeling that way. And you're probably right.
Also, in the US, there are like routes you can take if you're feeling this type of way. And maybe for the audience, that is, if you and your friends or you or people in the program are feeling like you're in this particular situation, or maybe you have come to light of this particular situation, the best thing you can do is report it, and report it with all the knowledge that you have, like take screenshots. And I would start at the FTC, and then from there it tells you all the steps what to do on reporting in the USA. I don't know what it would be for the other countries, but at least here they're looking into it.
Yeah, that's perfect. And that's super helpful. I know I get this question a lot because obviously I'm in Canada and people will ask me, like, who do I report it to? And I still haven't figured that out. So if anyone watching this video knows, put it in the comments and I'll pin it. But FTC, great resource. And somebody shared, I did a stream recently about a particular like fitness business coach, and the program that he was involved in, like the one he got his training from, I guess, got actually, like, I don't know if sued is the right term, but like the FTC took action against this company for like millions of dollars because they were basically like selling people on this funnel that was going to generate millions, and no one was getting the results that they were promised. So it's nice to see that, like, if we can talk about this enough and, make noise, report, like you said, hopefully things will change.
I think at the end of the day, we just have to realize that like justice will happen, and remind yourself to like go touch grass and do the things that are important. I'm even comfortable if people reach out to me and want to ask me more questions if they had something similar. But I think support groups and talking about it are definitely a great way to get through this. And I again can't thank you enough for your awareness that you bring, and teaching other people and educating people like the right way. And I even looked at your business content that you have for people, and I actually love what you're doing, and I love the templates that you make, and I think you should totally tell us more about that soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'll make sure to have all of your like profile and everything in the description as well so people can get in touch with you there. Once again, huge thank you to Autumn for her vulnerability in sharing this experience. I think it's so important that we have these conversations in order to help protect people from making faulty investments in their businesses. I do think it's important as business owners that this information is accessible. So I do have some older content that I made maybe like 2 years ago here on my YouTube channel, which you can click here if you're interested in learning the fundamental basics of building a business. I give it away for free. Now, if you're someone who has had a negative experience in the coaching industry and you want to share your story here on my channel, I do have a form linked in the description down below that you can fill out if you're interested in potentially having the opportunity to come on for an interview. Now, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I will leave you on screen here with last week's interview in case you missed it. Take care, comb your hair, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!